hear about you, how you chose Western, what your journey was, how you made that decision. Give me the dirt.
Okay, so similar to Carla, Camas, while it's a small town, it's very, very wealthy. Like I had friends who had their own yachts and helicopters and not me, but like basically the town is half rich people that moved in with the tech boom and then half old mill town. Because the school is built around the paper mill that no longer exists. That's actually our mascot. We got into the news for being one of the worst high school mascots in the country because it's the paper maker. Um, so yeah, I grew up like same deal at my school that like Carla had. It was like, are you going to UW? Are you going to Gonzaga? Like, because those are the only two options if you're going in state. Otherwise, you better be going to a UC school or like a yeah, like it's competitive. Um, but growing up really like low in terms of socioeconomic status, I was like, well, I know I need to go to college because my parents are like, if you don't go to college, it's essentially like not graduating high school 20 years ago. Everyone needs a college degree. So I also was like, okay, I need to go to a 4 year. But I've known I wanted to do graphic design and photography and art since I was a freshman in high school. Luckily, because I went to a wealthy school, they had graphic design and photography classes. So I was able to like gain that experience, that like secondhand privilege. Um, and Western has a pretty good design program, and they were cheaper than UW. For me, I'm lucky and really fortunate that I don't have any debt. And I plan to graduate this year without accruing any debt. But that's also because I've worked 40 hours a week or more since I started college. And I've lived in like really like, like well below my means. And so I don't recommend that for everyone because that is like the reason why this is my 5th year of college and I'm graduating in 5 years rather than 4. Because when you work that much, it's just not realistic to finish college, like take full-time classes.
Yeah,
Um, yeah.
it's interesting. How much is a year of tuition? Like
Um,
that extra year, the fifth year, how much does that cost you roughly?
So for me, I don't really know because I luckily do get a lot of financial aid because my parents are poor. But I also gain like there's 2 grants that I get from the state that last 5 years. So that's why I knew I needed to graduate college in 5 years. But luckily, Washington State has like I think one of the best, if not the best, financial aid programs like for students, like they give out the most in aid.
Hmm.
So I know that like the extra year obviously like it's more of an opportunity cost of like I didn't graduate in 4 years so I'm not getting my career started this year. You know what I mean, like
Yeah.
rather than making 40, 50, $60,000 a year, I'm making like 20,
Right.
so there's that opportunity cost. But I think that it's better than if I had just dropped out, which is kind of what I was tempted to do last year. Because of the burnout, right? You're working so much, you're taking classes, you're in clubs. Um, it's hard to want to continue. So I think that like my decision to just drop down to like 10 credits rather than 15 and then just continue slowly is overall just going to be so much better than if I had just been like, this is too much, I'm just going to quit.
Right. It's a lot of wisdom. I mean, it is because we had a conversation with some other Western students, and one student was just saying, just take your time and be patient. That there's no rush,
Mm-hmm.
and if you're getting the financial assistance due to financial aid, then the costs it's really your time, but the amount of time you're there and the work you're doing, the work, the 40 hours a week of work. Are you doing something related to your passions and interests?
Well, this is my 5th year as the graphic designer for Compass to Campus. So, um, yeah, it's kind of weird being like the oldest employee, even more than the administration. But I do graphic design and photography, and then I used to do childcare as well before COVID-19. at a women's shelter, which is also kind of one of my passions. Like not childcare, but I really like nonprofits, things that help people who are like, were in my situation where they need financial assistance, they need help taking care of children, they need help. I used to volunteer at a retirement home to teaching like the elderly how to use technology, like things that just like lessen the divide when it comes to like disability or like marginalized groups. And then I also do, I'm a manager and a host at the escape room downtown in Bellingham as well. Um,
That's fun.
so I do all that, and then I do like freelance photography stuff. So
Yeah.
like, yeah, it just totals out to like 40 hours. I would recommend if someone is looking into working full time, you just do one job for 40 hours rather than three that combine to 40 hours. Because trying to like schedule yourself everywhere and like do availability and stuff like that is just like a pain.